And a very good afternoon. Welcome to the Saturday preview just after 4 p.m. Friday afternoon with myself, Dave Massey. Pleased to say we got the go ahead at Cheltenham about just over an hour ago now. We're going to be racing tomorrow and Sunday by the looks of things, unless the weather forecast is extremely wrong. There is some more rain coming. There is a bit more on the way, about sort of 6-7 mil they reckon, but the course length they can handle that now. They've got rid of the worst of the excess water that was around yesterday. I'm going to be missing 3 out on the hurdles course and 3 out on the fences as well, on the chase course as well, I believe, as well as a couple of fences on the cross country on Sunday with the worst of the ground. I'm hoping somewhere along the line tomorrow I can find some form, because it's been pretty awful for a week or two now. And I bet 2 horses at Newcastle today that I think are still out there somewhere. Both fell out the back of the telly before the home straight, which is always nice. Always good when you've done your money before they turn in. So I'm hoping somewhere I can find a bit of form tomorrow. It looks, the next 2 days racing, they look like the sort of races you want to be taking on and having a go at, because, there are races where you look through them and you think, well, that won't go on the ground and that won't stay and that won't go on the ground. And you start putting the pen through them and you're left with 2 or 3 for races, and you really do want to play. But when your confidence is at the low ebb, what do you do? Anyway, look, 4 races tomorrow really that I'm interested in, of the 8 at Cheltenham that I want to play in. The 150, the 3.5 mile handicap chase, probably the first of those, where they put Ramesses de Tay in the 11 to 4 favourite. That looks short enough to me. He won an obvious hurdle here at the last meeting. We know about Ramesses de Tay. Yes, we know he stays. Yes, he goes in the ground. But he's going to have to pull an all-time best out really off this mark at 153. He seems to have gone up on the back of this novice hurdle win last time out here, where he was bet from a sort of morning odds of about 6 to 4 into 8 to 11. I think on the basis that he was the only one that would go in the ground that day. I'd sort of made that point to a friend of mine. I said, when you look at this race, which of these really wants heavy ground? Probably Ramesses de Tay. What's he going to do? Go off in front and gallop him into the ground? Surprise, surprise, he did. And off the back of that, he's £7 higher here. So now I want to take him on under 11-12. I really do. What with? West Approach just doesn't win enough for me. Travelled like the best horse last time. Still found one too good. Does he really want 3.5 mile? I don't know. 3.5 in this. I'm not sure. He has got a bit of quality, but I'm not sure. Similar comments apply to Pop Rockstar. I think his last 2 wins have been good to soft. That's where these will be testing. And he's often, the most testing conditions he's been in and off. He's off 138, which is £8 higher than his last win. You sort of go through them like that, and I end up with 2. I end up with Big River, who I think is still on a fair mark at 139. You watch his running the Ultima, back here, when he looked like falling out the back with a mile to go. He made a couple of mistakes. He wasn't fluent at a couple. He dropped to the rear. He wasn't travelling. You're thinking, well, it's game over for him. And he rallies so well in the latter stages. All he does is stay, this horse. And he can't really have it deep enough. He's off a wind up here. It's a question of whether he's fit after a break. He has gone well after a break before. That's not too big a worry. I'd have him shorter than 9 to 2. I'd have him and Ramesses de Tay virtually together, I think, at the head of the market, if not slightly in front. Big River. I think he's got his conditions tomorrow. He's on a racing weight. I like his chance. And similarly, I'm not going to be able to let Potter's Legend go without a saver either. Another horse that he's just a thorough stayer, really. He definitely gets 3-2 and probably gets a bit further. He's only £2 higher there than when he won a good handicap at Haydock last year. He took a field apart over 3 mile 1.5 in soft ground at Haydock. Then we didn't see him until he came out of the October meeting, and he ran perfectly well, finished 5th there in a handicap hurdle to be fair. More on him in a bit. He's a couple of pound lower here. That run will have blown a lot of cobwebs away. He's got his ground. He's got a lovely racing weight off 10 stone 5. Again, 9 to 1. I think there's 10 in a couple of places. I think that's fair. I think as a saver, he'll do for me. So it'll be Big River and probably the saver on Potter's Legend is how I'm playing that first one. Then we get to the Bet Victor, where St. Carvelos has come out. It's caused a rise in the weight. It's not the classiest of affairs this year. Top is in off 152, but we've got an anti-post bet. Well, if you followed me in anyway, I've got an anti-post bet on Highway 101 at 25 to 1, 5 places, but the ground is a concern now for me. I was genuinely hoping we might get away with good to soft ground. It's a worry. It is a worry. I still maintain that time form novices chase form, where he's second to Kildisart and he's got Spirit of the Games behind him, is a really top class piece of handicap form from last year. But he's going to face competition for the lead here as well. I was hoping one or two of the likely pacemakers might not get declared, might fall away for this. So with that in mind, I'm less confident than I would have been about Highway 101. Listen, if they can get into the front for the first, ping the first couple and get them in a rhythm, it's game on. But equally, if not, I can see it being a struggle. It is what it is now with him, and we can't change things. As things stand, there's two that make a little bit of appeal now. Balamide Pictons is the first of them for Venetia. The old Venetia chasers off a long break angle. We haven't seen him since he got bet off the boards to win at Sandown in February, but he bled that day, bled from the nose. He stopped very quick. That's obviously a bit of a concern, but equally maybe catching him fresh could be ideal here. Some of his form stacks up really well, particularly he's starting to waiting patiently at Carlisle, where I think he was only getting £3 off him that day. That's a good run. Made a grade 1 horse pull out some stops. So with that, he looks nicely weighted here, 11.6. Has a nice bit of stamina to him as well, which I think we'll need tomorrow. Ideally, you want something that nearly gets 3 mile, if not gets 3 mile, because this is going to be pretty attritional late on. And given he's won over 2, 6 and 3 mile, he's got that bit of stamina to him, which will help. He's won in heavy ground. So there is enough there for me to get interested in him at 14 to 1. And similarly, at a big price, he's probably one of these to bet with the firms that are going to go 5 and 6 places, but Warthog might be worth a second look tomorrow. He's very inconsistent, as his form shows, but he's an enormous horse. I've always thought he'd want, a real sort of solid gallop around 2.63 mile. Now, I know it's a little bit shorter than that tomorrow, but he has led in his races. He's led at Sandown when he dominated the small field, but he doesn't have to. He's got races before that where he's travelled really well and not quite seen it out. But if they go quick tomorrow, then Warthog's going to be picking them off, I think, late in the day. No problem going well fresh. When he won at Sandown last December, that was off the back of about an 8-month break. So he goes well fresh. He comes here off a wind up. Has form in soft and heavy ground, and as I say, will stay. So again, there's some 33s kicking around. You'd want the extra places with that, because you can just see him sort of running through beaten horses, and if it really does fall apart, then he might have his chance between 2 out and the last. We'll see. So I think at this stage they'd be my 2 against the field. I might tag him along with Highway 101. As I say, I'm less confident about Highway 101 now than I was a couple of weeks ago when I put the bet up. 3 o'clock, the handicap hurdle, 3 mile handicap hurdle. You go down these and you end up putting the pen through quite a few of them for varying reasons on ground and well-being and trip, and you end up with no more than about 3 or 4. It's hard to knock what To Be Fair he's doing, to be honest. And I know he's got 11, 12 to hump, but he's almost better class than these over hurdles. He's almost a class better than this lot. He's up another £5 for his win here in heavy ground last time out. But he's absolutely proven under the conditions. He's race fit, and with all that and the doubts about everything else in the field, I do think he's probably the most likely winner here, even with 11, 12 on his back. But he's already been found, you see. I mean, the problem is you're getting 7 to 200 to 30 about him, and we're not exactly getting any great value. But equally, I'm sort of looking through those at bigger prices, and I don't really like any of them. With the exception of Eva's Oscar. I do like Eva's Oscar. The track's a slight worry with me with Eva's Oscar. And this will be the deepest ground she's come across as well. But she's been, she is an improving he is, I should say, an improving 5-year-old. Won his last 3. Doing very little wrong. He's a big gangly thing, and I still think there's more to come from him. But he's been he's now up £10 and in a better race and on softer ground than he's been running in. So 8-1 is only a fair price. It's only a fair price. I think, as I say, the more you go through the race, the more you end up sort of coming back to be fair. But whether I want to bet him at 100 to 30 or not, I'm not so sure. And then the intermediate handicap hurdle again after that at 3:30. This is the race 7 on the card. I was hoping I was going to get a price about Remastered here, because he's the one horse in the race again that is proven in heavy ground. He ran at Chepstow, and well, I say ran. He literally ran at Chepstow, far too fast, and he was basically cooked turning in. Hopefully that was just a run to get the cobwebs blown away, and no more than that. Because if you look at his form of last year, when he was only got beaten 4 lengths by Dash or Drasher, and he was quite highly tried a couple of times. Don't forget, he was made even money to beat Getaway Trump at Exeter 3 starts back. So they obviously thought a lot of him then. That was off the back of a couple of wins in heavy ground in bumpers, beat Cateson, and then in a novice early beat Smith's Cross, and they're both horses I rate. As I say, I was really hoping off the back of the Chepstow run that we'd get a bigger price than 5-1. He's already been backed. It's the sort of price now where I can very nearly leave him alone, to be perfectly honest. And if he wins, he wins. The other one in the race, of course, that's interesting for me is Giacomo, who I put up at Ascot and fell in 5th for us thieving each way merchants that were nicking the extra places at a big price. I like Giacomo a lot, and as I've said, I'm sure there is a good handicap to be won with him. Interestingly, he's in this race tomorrow, and he's in the first race on Sunday, the conditionals race, the conditionals handicap hurdle, which is an easier race. It looks an easier race on paper. And I just wonder whether they're going to try and let the ground dry out a little bit more for Giacomo and then try him on the Sunday. If he does, I'd be more interested in him there than I am here, so to say, because I think this is a tougher race. The one thing that Giacomo is, he is crying out for a go at a 2.5 mile trip and a bit more. You look at him and what he did at Ascot, he was outpaced for much of the way there, and then he stayed on really well from 2 out. It was a similar story, Chepstow the time before, just over 2 mile. And when you watch, when he beat Rococo River at Newton Abbot in September, he cantered through that race. That was over 2 mile, 2.5 furlongs, and he travelled so much better when he had that little bit extra to go. And with that, I think once he steps up in trip, you're going to see a bit more from Giacomo. As I say, he's a 9-1 chance for this tomorrow. I'll make my mind up tomorrow whether I back him or not if he goes, but I would be arguably more interested in him on the Sunday in the conditionals race. In that I hope would be his race. So that's Uttoxeter covered. That's Cheltenham covered off. One to mention at Uttoxeter, I think it's in the first race, which is a 0 to 100 2 mile handicap hurdle in what promises to be absolute slop at Uttoxeter tomorrow. It will be like the Somme, like the old days it used to be at Uttoxeter, where about 2 of them finish and the rest of them are in a different county. It's going to be like that tomorrow. So what you're looking for at Uttoxeter tomorrow is something that's got a bit of track form, ideally goes in bad ground. And the one that sort of jumped out at me in the first was the 13-year-old Richard of Dockham. Now, he might be 13, but he's actually had less runs than he has years, because he's I think this will only be his 13th start. He's fairly lightly raced. Now, wind the clock back a couple of years, and he looked like he was going to make up into a sort of quite useful low-grade handicap hurdler who was made favourite for a couple of very similar to races to this. And I think there are 2 key points with Richard of Dockham. One, proven track form. Twice over course and distance he's run well. He got beaten half a length here a couple of years ago under very similar conditions off a mark of 82. And then in December last year, in the same race actually last year, only got beaten 7 lengths in a race that was it was a very competitive race actually for a 0 to 100. And he only got beaten 7 lengths there, finished 5th. Those 2 runs sort of stand out amongst the rest of his form, and he clearly likes it here. He clearly goes well with soft ground, and he's gone well after a break before. That December run last year, where he's arguably run one of his best races, was off the back of an 8-month break. So the fact that he's been off again since March is of no concern to me. Goes in the ground. Rex Dingle on board takes another useful 5 off. He's got no weight on his back, and he's been put in at double figures by William Hill. So I've already had a bet at 12s. I could see this going off 5-6 to 1 tomorrow, Richard and Dockham. I really could. Because it's a race. I mean, you look through this race, and my goodness me, you try and find me something here that has got recent solid form. You can argue the case for Percy Thrower if you want. He's won a couple, but he's already, his last 2 runs were nowhere near as good. And, you know, he's off a mark of 90 tomorrow. That looks as high as he wants to be. I'm happy to take him on all day long. I know he's more unexposed in a few of these, but I'd want to be taking him on. Miss GJ ran okay at Stratford, bumped into our old friend Don Wonder Huey there. I think she's probably the danger. But I'm going to be with Richard O'Dockham at Uttoxeter in this first race tomorrow at the prices. There we go. Hopefully I can find some form. Hopefully we can have a winner or two tomorrow. That would be nice. If you're going to Cheltenham over the next couple of days, if you're there Saturday, if you're there Sunday, and you see me and the good lady lurking around the paddock, please come and say hello. Always nice to meet new people. Guys, thank you very much for listening. What's the best bet tomorrow, you're going to say, aren't you? I like Big River. I think Big River has got a very, very good chance in that 3.5 mile handicap chase at 150. Best of luck with all your bets over the weekend. I'll be back on Tuesday. Cheers, guys. Bye-bye.